What's good, everybody? It's your boy Hans.
And it's your girl Tristan.
And welcome to the Hans and Tristan podcast. I appreciate everybody joining us. Today we have not one, we got three special guests because we had out here in these streets. We got people joining us from LA, DC, New York, New Jersey, and we just thought it was fitting to have these special guests on given the climate of our society and our country right now. I know that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of frustrations. And I don't think that just myself and Tristan could cover it all. So we thought, why not have some people on who are experiencing it in other parts of the country, and they can voice what's going on with them, how they're feeling, what the vibe is in their area of the country. So you don't just hear from us, but you hear from other people who ultimately are going through the same thing. So without further ado, I want to introduce my homeboy, Christian. Christian's from LA. We work together. We got another podcast in the works. Look out for that. It's coming though. It's coming. It's hot stuff. Flames. So we got don't do that, Tristan. Don't get it's cool.
Saying you gonna get a whole new partner. He just so happened to have a similar name as mine. Like,
well, all right.
I mean, that's very cliche. Like, no, I'm just playing.
Yo, I always thought about that too. Don't worry.
All right. I appreciate you joining us, Christian. And then we got my boy Evan Butler Sands in DC right now. He ain't from there though, but he there.
They're getting these taxes at the moment.
You're right, man. You're right. Uncle Sam's getting them taxes, man. He always get his cut, man. But appreciate you joining us. And then we got my cousin, Lou. He's in Jersey right now representing. What up, Lou?
What up, cuz? How you feeling, man?
Hey, man, I'm out here. Appreciate you gentlemen joining us. Thank you so much for giving me a little sliver of your time. I know all of you guys are busy doing big things, trying to get to these millions. That's right, millions. So, I appreciate you guys. But we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to start with my boy Christian, man. I know you out in LA. LA has just been, to me, you guys always had a different vibe. Even when it came to dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, you guys have always had kind of a different step, a different vibe when it comes to other parts of the country. So how are you seeing the protests happen in LA? What's the vibe like out there?
So from most of the people that I know that have gone out and protested, it's been predominantly peaceful, right? I mean, everything that I've seen, it's just a straight march, they're getting their point across. But the media shows the riots, the media shows the looting, the media shows like all that stuff that garners ratings, right? But from what I'm seeing from my end, from my own Twitter, from my own social media, from my own friends, they're protesting peacefully, right? So it makes you wonder, well, is there a bigger group at play here, right? Then you start thinking more conspiracies. Oh, is there an agenda for this group? Why is there bricks? Why is there rocks just laid right out of the street before the protests start happening? Is that to start to give people incentives to start throwing them at cops, start throwing them at businesses? So LA has its own history with riots. You all know about that.
That's what I was about to say, the Rodney King. Like, you guys have your own, the Watts riots. Like, you guys do have your own history when it comes to riots.
Yeah, we got a lot of history with that. So, if we rioting, there's a reason, right? I mean, we don't do it just because. I mean, obviously, if the Lakers win, we will have those.
My man. Shouting out your Lakers at. Fix your Lakers at. But you did bring up something that confirmed what I saw on social media the other day. So I was on social media like this past weekend, and some people from Dallas, Texas, they shot footage of bricks too laying stacked next to like a courthouse. And they pointed out there's no construction going by. Why are there bricks just laying there? And I'm just like, you know what? That's not you get what I'm saying? that's not a valid point. Like, I can see that. Like, there's no reason for the bricks to be laying there. So I can see that, you know. I can honestly, I'm not against that theory. Call me a conspiracist, but I'm not against it. I'm not
No, it's
against
sketchy. It's sketchy as hell. It's sketchy as hell. And you know, the the what's the word? The environment in LA. It's mostly downtown LA. That's usually has all the stuff happening right now. Um, LA County is so large. Where I live in Hawthorne is part of LA County. We're not necessarily near Los Angeles. We're about, I don't know, 7 miles, 8 miles away. We're like, if there's no traffic, it would take us 15 minutes to get to downtown on the
it.
freeway, right? But there's a bunch of neighborhoods outside, right? So there's a couple of cities here in what we call the South Bay, which is a multiple of cities, that does have peaceful protests. But everything that you see on the news
Hmm.
is in downtown LA, is in any of the looting that's happening in Beverly Hills, in Malibu, wherever. And that's what the media is going to show you. They're not going to show you the good stuff, right?
Gotcha.
Because it's all about ratings.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I care that Gucci got looted, man. Like I don't care. I don't care. They'll be okay.
They got insurance for it. I'm not mad.
Exactly.
I feel you. I'm on the fence about that. I'm
Well,
on
first, I don't know.
I feel you. I feel you. My boy Ev, man, what's going on in DC, man? What are your experiences like in DC? What's the vibe like over there?
Well, I want to start by echoing Christian's point that, you know, a lot of pain, a lot of protests going on right now, but there's far more of the peaceful variety that the news, well, your national news, whatnot, doesn't give you as much of a story on as they do the looting that takes place at night. You know, I mean, the vibe changes at night. We get that, but during the day, you know, my wife and I, we got out there Saturday, um, you know, got into a march that was going on around the National Mall, some powerful demonstrations, you know, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and then, you know, hours on Sunday in front of the White House, just, you know, folks chanting and coming together in unity and whatnot, all different races of people. And you know, the vibe wasn't violent at all. You got people out there marching and protesting. You have people out there bringing supplies like water and masks and food, whatnot. You know, so I mean, it's the vibe out there isn't what you're seeing on the major news networks. You know, and I will say that in both cases, not just Sunday, but especially Saturday, you know, your law enforcement to an extent plays a role in inciting a lot of the violence and chaos that you end up seeing, because it turns into a chest thumping contest out there for them. You know, they know that a lot of this protest is geared towards them directly, and you know, they're a fraternity of sorts, so they tend to protect their own. But you know, that's what I'm seeing out there, man. Of a lot of love, a lot of unity. You know, a lot of pain being expressed peacefully. Um, you know, you have some. I mean, you have a lot of the violence as well. I shouldn't say violence. You have a lot of the rioting as well. But it's so much more organized protest and unity.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I know, you know, you told me that you went out there and I was like, okay, I'm glad that you were able to, you know, participate and, you know, stand with our, you know, fellow brethren out there and really show your support. And I was wondering because, you know, DC is just a hot spot really too, you know, given what the media is showing, the mainstream media is showing with what's going on in front of the White House and, you know, what the Secret Service is doing, how the president had to go down to the bunker. And you get what I'm saying? They've really portraying it as honestly that it's kind of akin to chaos, basically, right? That tensions are extremely high, you know, in DC, given its proximity to the president, right? And his role and what he has to play. But when you shared with me personally and just now showing that no, really, actually, it's more peaceful than anything, You know, it really just like at the end of the day, honestly, we really can't trust what we see. You really have to go out there on your own, right? And test the vibe and see what it is for yourself rather than just, you know, just sitting at home watching on the TV, because when you're out there, you get a different sense of it. And, you know, you're a prime example of that. I appreciate you definitely sharing that. My boy Lou.
Yes, sir.
So what's going on up north, my guy? What's
Man,
Jersey and New
you
York looking like?
man, you know it's a jungle out this way. But to be honest, um, like Evan was saying, and I'm gonna touch on something that he said towards the end that's very relevant into what I'm about to say now. That echoes both Christian and Evan's point that they're not showing you really what it is in terms of from a peaceful standpoint. I give a lot of uh, I can give it up to our governor out here, Governor Murphy, because he actually has been, you know, pretty on top of things, rather from the pandemic all the way through to what's happening right now. And I think the state is also, you know, starting to reflect that. Specifically, I'm up in North Jersey, obviously, still very connected to New York, and uh, there's been a lot of peaceful things going on. I mean, we had a couple on Saturday, uh, up in North, especially. That was a huge one. That was one that really popped it off. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it because, you know, we had some other family stuff going on in regards to this, having a larger conversation about it. But everything I've seen, everybody that I talked to that was out there, super peaceful. And also, you know, in other areas in Franklin, New Jersey, you know, Franklin Township, like there's been them in Piscataway, there's been in New Brunswick, there's been in pretty much in all the major cities in New Jersey have been having these protests, but it's been real quiet as opposed to Los Angeles, Washington D.C., which are, you know, major cities in the spotlight of this. You know, New Jersey has been very quiet in the news because there really hasn't been any issue. And the part that I was saying that wanted to tie into the end of what Evan was speaking about was in reference to the interaction with law enforcement in these areas, and as opposed to you know, other major cities. A major piece of why I think they're able to be a little bit more peaceful is because a lot of these police officers, from what I understand, you know, you have a good amount of them from Essex County already. You know, people I know personally is like, you know, they're working back in the cities that they came from, especially being minorities, which I think is a huge piece as to how you're able to curtail situations like where we've been having. You know, if you're not really having people from the community, how are they really able to understand what's going on? How are they able to really develop that type of relationship and connection that, one, gives you a level of understanding, two, is able to give the people, the residents of the community, understanding, and also just a level of respect that's established because, you know, there's already a rapport there, which I think is a huge piece that's missing within, you know, law enforcement and the communities that they go into. So it's cool for you to do whatever you're doing now in these cities, especially in the cities, and then drive back to the suburbs. You know, I think it's a little bit different when you have to consider, well, these people know I'm from. You know, they know where I lay my head. I know where they lay their heads. We run into each other when I'm off duty, and we have normal, regular interaction. You know, I think the space and the lens in which that, you know, these two parties are looking at each other would make a world of difference if that was traditionally the case, and also what I believe, you know, was the initial intention of why law enforcement was created. Well, we can get into that into the, you know, other aspects of that, but
Right.
in terms of from a community aspect, you know, the police force, just in general, not specifically towards us, but just in general, was supposed to help serve the community. And I think it was the sooner that they're able to get back to those basics, that will be a major step in being able to, you know, move the needle forward.
No, definitely. And you did touch on a point that I kind of
We
wanted to
can't hear you,
mention.
Tristan.
Thank you, Lou, for looking out, because Hans just totally.
Wow, I did. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead. Let me put myself on mute. Go ahead, Tristan.
I have a question, because there was an incident here in Atlanta where they implemented a curfew, and then, like y'all all were saying, the police got involved trying to enforce this curfew, and it was an incident.
Talking about the Morehouse situation, the Morehouse students.
Get out my head, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it was kind of
I
ridiculous.
feel like that wouldn't have taken place if they weren't so hell-bent on trying to enforce this curfew. And I know, like, I don't know how it is in New York, New Jersey, or even LA, but I know DC definitely has a curfew of LA. Atlanta here is 9 o'clock. So do you feel like you said, in regards to the police trying to do their job per se, it's actually increasing the intensity amongst the protesters and the law enforcement out there.
Yeah, in Jersey, I haven't heard of any curfew as of yet. Again, it's been real quiet in Jersey. New York City, I know has a curfew at 8 o'clock. But to be real, what I truly believe, especially in these situations, especially in a city like Atlanta, where if we could say any city has had the most progress, it would be Atlanta in terms of for the Black community. And I truly believe at this point is, they're looking for a reason. If people are protesting peacefully, especially they're protesting against you. I truly believe these guys, they're looking for a reason. Like, hey, anything that you can give me that I can any way remotely say, look, this person was being unruly, this person was breaking the law, this person was not following orders. Yeah, they're gonna jump on it, because I think at this point, seeing it across the nation, they're feeling a little bit like they're on the attack, like they're on their back heels a little bit. Like they're not necessarily sure, especially with seeing the arrests that are taking place. I think they are a little bit intimidated, thinking like, hey, this free reign that we've had before, this protection that we've had, may kind of be in jeopardy. They might be actually trying to sit here and test this and really question what's happening here. And I think they're nervous a little bit. What happens if they take a deeper look into all that's happening within the police force across the board, and if they're actually willing to start making some action happen. So.
And that goes into what Evan was saying in regards to the police force being a fraternity in and of itself, because the 2 officers were Black, ironically. Yeah. So I'm just like, which one is more imperative, your Blackness or your blueness?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll tell you this, and I don't know if anybody else can speak to this, but I do have friends that are also in law enforcement, that are cops in the FBI and so on and so forth. So they tell you, especially the dudes that I know that are city cops, in situations like this, their counterparts, their white counterparts, they look at them like, hey, are you blue or are you Black? They actually push them into making this decision. What are you doing? So it's in essence sometimes tough in their position. And I'm in a career, and am I going to allow myself to be marginalized because of what I believe? Or am I going to, kind of try to play the middle ground so then I can reach whatever goal in terms of advancement, per se, if that's the aspiration of the particular person. So no, I know for sure that that question definitely gets answered within that space.
Absolutely.
And I think it's something that as we look at these protests play out, and as we look at, we wait for justice on officers, and in Minnesota, I saw that the officers in Atlanta got fired. As we analyze these situations, I mean, that is a part of it that you can't separate from these conversations. The part that's most frustrating is that racism component, that you get added into. It's a disease, and it's almost like a silent killer, a silent disease. And so when you get to this point, it's hard for us, the civilian, to separate one agenda from the other agenda when both agendas are contributing to harming us and harming our well-being. It's tough. And then everybody wants to rationalize, well, what's this looting about? This looting is disgrace, but the protest is okay. Why aren't they showing the peaceful protests, but they're showing all of the looting? Well, understand, all of it comes from the same place. All of it comes from that same sense of pain.
To cut you off.
So go ahead.
But I don't have a problem with the looting. And I'm going to tell you why I ain't got a problem with the damn looting. Because as soon as one of these teams win some shit, these people be out here tearing the goddamn city up, and ain't nobody got a problem with that.
You want to make this a sports conversation now?
I'm just saying, if we're going to tear some shit up regardless, we're going to tear some shit up. Like, let's not.
I mean, we down with the sports convo.
Just saying, you know what I'm saying? Because either way, and then I damn sure don't feel bad about, like Christian said, I don't feel bad about no goddamn Gucci. Y'all got insurance. So that doesn't bother me. So I'm like, shit, tear all this shit up. Just don't come.
So for me, I'm 50-50 with the looting. Here's why. So the reason I'm 50-50 with it is because some of it are really essentially bad optics on the Black community, right? Like some of it is essentially bad optics on the Black community. And also I do believe that there are some other forces at play with this quote unquote looting, right? There's actually video evidence of people telling other people, hey, do this, who are not a part of the movement. There's actually video evidence of people who are not Black breaking stuff and spraying Black Lives Matter on it. You get what I'm saying? Who don't represent us doing it. You get what I mean? So like, I'm 50-50 on it because of that. But at the same time, I do understand that any revolution that has taken place in history hasn't been effective if there wasn't any, like tearing down of anything, if there was any some form of destruction. And I hate to call it that, but essentially that's what it is. You get what I mean?
People out of
Look,
That's exactly what it is.
all
Like,
because they want to pay shipping and handling.
right.
Yo, to be
regular.
let's real talk. Nah, I am a firm believer. Look, without radical action, there could be no radical change, and that's a fact. Every person in history that has been somebody who has been a leader or somebody that's been a representation of change, everything has come with them thinking of some radical idea or putting some radical action in place. Now, I think what was the best representation of all of this as it was happening, not necessarily looting, but in terms of destruction, was seeing that third precinct in Minneapolis. That, I think, for me, is if there's going to be a picture, if the Time magazine was to talk about another one of the most iconic pictures of 2020 so far, that would have to be it. Because when's the last time you heard about something like that happen? We've heard about looting before. We've heard about people breaking into. So we've seen this before. But them actually going and specifically going after that third precinct and actually sitting there making that action the one of the major things that spurred on actually going and arresting this guy. It represents a lot. So yes, I'm torn because I do believe in terms of the smaller stories, somebody who worked hard to be able to build a business for themselves, to better themselves and their family, that may have been passed down to them, or that they may have been, dreaming to pass it down to those after them, just based on them, working on their dreams. But let's not also forget the people that were in Minneapolis. The black-owned businesses had their owners outside with their guns ready. Like, hey, nobody's about it. We're gonna protect ours too. So these major corporations, no, I have no love for y'all. Don't feel bad for you guys. You guys been getting these billions and millions of dollars of bailouts through this time where people are barely getting enough money. One-time stimulus. Like, the disparity is clearly there. We understand that. But we also have to understand, and this goes back to the bigger picture, that I think that other people who are seeing us do these actions are not really understanding. There's a bigger picture in terms of what all this represents. It's not, people aren't inherently just looking for, oh, I'm going to destroy something. But when they're saying, I don't know how else to release this frustration, I don't know how else you guys are going to hear or see me. Abby, feel free to jump in, cuz. Like, anytime, like, I don't know how else I'm going. Look at kids. When kids are upset, when babies are upset, they can't communicate. What do? They cry. They pick something up and throw it. Like, and that's their way of saying, look, I'm frustrated enough. I can't communicate what it is that I feel effective enough for you to see it. So let me do something that might actually get your attention. That is, that blatant enough, that radical enough, that's going to make you say, like, oh, wait up. Let me actually take a look at this. But the biggest piece of all that's happened now is what happens next. We got the world's attention. What do we do next with it?
I can't even. Go ahead, Christian. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm with Lou. I'm with Hans as well. I'm kind of like, look, small businesses being destroyed is obviously really bad because they put their life into it, especially Black businesses or POC businesses, right? But I'm not gonna sit here and feel bad for Amazon trucks being looted, man. Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any taxes. He's going to be a trillionaire from this COVID-19 outbreak alone, because all we could do is order from Amazon or order from eBay And like we can't go outside. So, you see these big corporations getting bailouts, $500 million bailouts, $300 million bailouts, but the people only get $1,200. Can't even pay rent with that here in Los Angeles.
Facts.
Most of the rent.
Facts. Or DC or New York. That's
Yeah.
Boy, hurting me right now.
That's facts.
So I mean, like, it's a tough thing to teeter with, right? Because like violence morally pacifism is the best way for change for the world, because the idea of love and everything is just morally feels like the best way to do it. But historically riots work. Violence, not destruction, works. I'm not gonna say violence. I'll say destruction. Violence doesn't work. Destruction works because it's the voice of the unheard. That's what MLK said, right? If we keep on peacefully protesting, but then the government gives their lip service, their little video op of saying like, "Oh, I hear you. Like, yes, I believe this should be changed." Years go on by and things don't change. We just had the same problem 30 years ago with Ronnie King, and they gave us the same spiel that things were going
We're
to
not even
change.
getting that spiel now. Trump giving us a completely different type of speech now.
Exactly.
He's ready to blast us in these streets.
So after the rioting, after the looting, because I seen the lady run out of Target with them 2 lamps, the white chick. I was like, okay, she had her eye on them lamps for a real long time, but okay, sis. But after all this is said and done, then what? Because I feel like I be missing a memo sometimes on what we doing. Maybe I'm not in the loop. Like maybe I'm like even with the whole thing with Instagram with the Blackout Tuesday, I didn't know till I woke up. Like, is there a memo? Are we having like congregations to let people know? Is there a way I can vote in what I want to do? Like, where do we go from here? Because I sometimes feel like even if we're making progress, it's unorganized progress and we're still not all on the same accord to make it long-term effective. Because like you said, even with Rodney King, like we still having the same damn problems. So how do we make it long-term effective and get on the same page, especially with all this technology we got now?
I'll tell you one thing: if Nip was still alive, he would be the one running all the protests.
Crazy.
And be the everyone. But
it's interesting you said that because it's interesting you said that. I literally was saying, he definitely would be one of the front runners for sure at this point. It's what Killer Mike would be on a larger scale for the U.S.
Exactly. And all I keep on hearing is like, well, if you want change, you need to vote. Okay, we've been voting for years.
And they ridiculous. Like even out here in Georgia, they make you wait for fucking 3-4 hours to the point where you just want to turn and go home. They always want to have a trap or something. But my thing is us being on one accord, because even with all the traps, we know they're not gonna stop trying, right? But if we're on the same page, we can still defeat the whole system. But we cannot do it if it's like even what you said in LA, right? You had so many different riots, but in totally different areas. It wasn't one massive riot. So it's like we have all these many groups coming together and coming up with different things. But how do we as a people come together and be on one massive accord? Prime example, Million Man March. How do we all the hell come together and get on one accord?
Well, it looks like at this point, even with today, the whole Blackout Tuesday, what it was initially supposed to be, the fact that, yes, the message got lost, but then just as quickly, once everybody realized it, the message got disseminated down. I think there's going to be a couple iterations of trial and error, but it really comes down to being able to have a couple centralized leaders, and unfortunately, we don't have that. Killer Mike, what he said down in Atlanta, and even when he spoke, on the news, I think what he was saying was great, because he was really talking about next steps, sympathizing with what's happening, empathizing, and understand why it's necessary, but really also looking at how do we take the next step. I think, again, like I said, I think Killer Mike is great, but in terms of his global visibility, I don't think he necessarily has that, unfortunately. But he also, it doesn't mean he doesn't have access to somebody who might. Christian mentioned Nipsey. If Nipsey was like still alive, yes, I'm totally sure that, especially since he was regarded the way he was on such a large scale, I think that he definitely would have been, a strong agent for change. But there are some people that could be that we don't know. We hope that they may be able to mobilize something. Um, Diddy is one of them. Jay-Z is one of them. Yeah, or like if we don't want to have to keep looking in the entertainment space, Hans knows I get on my soapbox about this, and I'm not gonna really go too heavy on it. But look, I think Obama's been real sweet with all this. He's regarded and loved in terms as a black man, probably the most beloved black man globally so far in history. And to me, unless I see you in these streets willing to die for it, like the rest of us, then I don't really think you about it. Yet what more in terms of a political agenda could you really try to achieve at this point? You've been the president of the United States. You've been what's called the leader of the free world. So until we have somebody that is regarded and respected in such a high light, to be the one that's really going to start speaking towards things, and those people, even from a blind perspective, follow that person and say whatever this is gospel. We're going to be in a transitional phase where we're not going to have, even with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they were prominent voices. At least we could identify who those prominent voices were at the time, even if we weren't 1,000% organizing on one accord. But now it's even more difficult because we really don't have somebody we can say X, Y, Z. These people are who we look at as the leaders of our Black community.
Lou, you know why I don't believe Brock or any of these big artists or anything are going to come out and protest with the people? And this is just my opinion. And I've thought about this very hard because their social status is already top tier. They have nothing to worry about anymore when it comes to money, when it comes to
access.
This is not just a racism thing anymore. This is also a classism thing.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Because now we ain't playing a socioeconomic game, because realistically, like one of the big things I've been talking about on my Twitter, I was really talking about, okay, what's the next steps? For me, I do think everybody needs to look at personally, what do we look at as a community about self-sufficiency? That's really the largest piece of it, right? Why do you think the Jewish community is able to operate the way that they do? The various Asian communities are able to operate the way that they do. Arab like communities are able to operate the way that they do within the country, with the Jews being the blueprint. Everything is run by them. Yes, to be able to get to the point to have the access to be able to own these particular areas, these particular pieces of the community, that we can maintain our dollar within us. That barrier entry may be higher. Well, not may, it is higher than most. But once we're able to do that, the buy back the block initiative is a major piece of that, right? How do you make sure that you keep your community yours, not allowing gentrification and stuff to happen? That way, your influence then, from a socioeconomic standpoint, that starts to rise. Yeah, so I do agree with you 1,000%, Christian, on that. Yeah, their status, their level, they're part of that echelon that really looks at this like they'll eventually blow over.
And you see,
they really don't have a full attachment.
You see what.
Hold on a second, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think the answer to what you're saying, Tristan, is all of the above. I think, Lou, you hit a tremendous point earlier when you said, the amount of passion but helplessness that's being displayed out there right now. And it does lead to what we do next, and it's we harness that. But you have people out there. You have tremendous young folks. I feel bad even saying young folks, but you have young folks out there, displaying their passion, displaying their commitment to a cause. And, when you feel helpless, you're going to get what you get right now. You give guidance, and you harness that passion, not only from our community, but from allies that for a change are actually putting their face out there as well. You harness that into actionable steps. Voting, like you said, voting's the one that they always throw out, It doesn't mean it's not a step, though, but it's one of many steps that have to take place, mobilizing our dollars as a community, as a Black community, being unified in that. That is a step. Holding not only ourselves, as in a platform like this, but our allies accountable continuously, those are steps. So it's got to be an all of the above approach. Now, have we had that leader, so to speak? You were talking some good things there when you were mentioning the Obamas and whatnot. What else he's got to lose? What's the next job? But I won't get into that. but I mean, you make a good point. I mean, when you have the passion being shown at the ground level right now, leadership from the top level to take that and say, hey, let me guide you to these next steps, so that we have organized Blackout Tuesdays, so that we have organized our functions continuously that keeps the pressure on the oppressors. I mean, you guys are absolutely right.
That's true. Even with the whole Blackout Tuesday thing, right? Of course I repost it, because I want to be down for the cause. But then part of me also feels like a sheep. Like, I'm just doing it just to do it, because I really don't know. I wasn't amongst the people coming up with this. I wasn't in the loop when this happened. I really don't know what this is about. I mean, I got the gist of it, Blackout, so I ain't gonna post nothing else today. But then at the end of the day, are you doing things in vain, or are you doing things because it's what you really believe in?
I think you're doing it because you're looking for something to do right now. You're looking for, how can I harness what's going on, this feeling I have right now? It's a sense of helplessness. I want to do something. What's the next step? So when you see something that comes out, it's like, okay, that's what we're doing. But then, you dig into it further, and it's like, okay, what is the result of this? What is the true purpose of this? So you begin to have that hesitation, but it comes from a good place, because we are at a point right now where it's like, something has to be done. I want to do something, and it feels helpless right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with the more organization, and then, kind of coming together, and not, because it's still a select people that are still making the decisions, like, okay, we're going to march, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. Also, and just let me know, I want to know y'all opinions on this. I've had a theory, because just even speaking with my daughter before all the looting and stuff took place, I had no idea. She comes downstairs and she said, hey, mommy, they going to break into Lennox tomorrow. And I'm like, who the hell is they? And your ass ain't going. Like, what the hell? Because I had no idea that it was going to be a march. I had no idea any of this. But apparently she's in the loop, and I'm not, thank God for her. But I think part of it is, like you said, the young kids out there, part of it is a whole ramifications of the quarantine. Just being so cooped up in the house for so long. And now you, like you say, you have this energy. Where the hell am I going to put it? Are we riding? Okay, bet. And I'll be damned they ain't getting in Lennox. So I'm like, I think part of it is, like you said, it's like we have an agenda, but then we also have other things we're fighting within this whole trifecta of the agenda. I don't think one thing is going to cripple the whole system of, police brutality. I think it's going to have to be a whole trifecta of things, and sometimes multiple things happening at the same time. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, it's got to be a whole systemic change for sure. Yeah. Because these you can have politicians starting at the ground level, going to mayorship and city council, and they all have good intentions, right? Oh, the community needs this fixing, all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, well, I want to vote for that person, right? Then they get higher and higher. They become the governor. They become the senator. Once they get up to that level, it's not about the communities anymore. I feel like it's gonna start becoming, or it starts to become more international. The president don't give a shit.
My philosophy is, I honestly believe that senators and governors, they're born. Their parents already got their life mapped out for them before they even come out the womb. So they already breeding them from day one. And amongst that breeding of what they're gonna be in life, they're also breeding these same, traditional bullshit that doesn't conform over time. So that, and of that is also the slavery, the racism, the oppression, and everything else that's carried along and passed down. But we, and I hate to say it, us, people of color, We don't breed, our children to come up with certain things unless it's like a football player, a basketball player, something like that. Other than that, we kind of allow our children to have their own career, and then we kind of let them go out in the world and wing it. Where other cultures breed doctors, lawyers, senators, so they have more control over what we see and some of the laws and things that are made. Chief of police, and you look at their family line, and it's like, oh, my great granddaddy was chief of police, and my daddy was chief of police, and now I'm chief of police. Well, goddamn.
Yeah, I think that's
something like that.
there's a couple different dynamics I think you're touching on there. Firstly, being is nepotism is a real thing, and nepotism only happens if you've gained access, and but to be able to gain access within a system that's already been created against you, you gotta revamp and or get rid of the system in place. Also, I don't think for us, well, I could say, for Hans and I being Haitian, yeah, the whole idea of lawyer, doctor, nurse, engineer is something that, especially if you're first generation, preached on to heavy. So yeah, from that perspective, we know what that's like. So to a degree, yeah, um, you know, the community of Black folks, some of us do have that pressure, or our parents try to breed us into that, so to speak, using your terms. But voting is important. What Christian was mentioning is the further you get from the community, the further you get detached from their issues. It's really going to come to us being able to have control of our communities. And I think the economic perspective of it is a major point. If, for instance, like Atlanta has a lot of Black owners. So there's a lot of things that you guys can do uh, from a political perspective based on the pressure that various business owners like have because they have these dollars, and then they forge these relationships that they can lean on politicians to make certain moves. And until we continuously able to do stuff like that, I think it's gonna be even more difficult. But yeah, like the looting at Lennox, I think that alludes to, for instance, your daughter being able to say that her generation is of this technology generation, so their level of understanding, their level of action is going to be significantly higher than in the generations as you move into the older ones. So I think that's why it's so important now that we're able to at least try to find some centralized nucleus of either a Black leader or a group of Black leaders that still have an attachment to the cause and to the community, and understand that what affects us also affects them. Because even if you are one of us and you've reached that echelon, at the end of the day, they still looking at you like you here, but you're not one of us. You're only here because we allowed you to be.
Right.
Another perspective that I was given from a coworker, and I'm gonna let you jump in right after this, is I didn't think about this, and this is one of my coworkers. He's a white dude, and we had a conference call, and he was the one that he started the conversation, really just asking me about how I felt about it. He's also in Essex County up in North Jersey too, and he was even talking about going to protesting, but he has a young daughter, so he's like, it wouldn't be smart for him to bring her out there. But he was saying people aren't looking at, yes, you got some young kids who may be taking advantage of the situation, 15, 16-year-olds, even young adults. But you just think about Santa Monica. People are in their 50s, 40s and 50s. But these are also the same people that have been affected by COVID, have been out of work for 2 months, haven't even received maybe even a relief check. They haven't received, if they did receive a relief check, maybe they haven't received any unemployment because it's so backed up. Why wouldn't they look at this as an opportunity? I've been in the house, can't go nowhere. I don't have any money. So that means I really can't pay for much to take care of my family during this time. I've been struggling so much. Why wouldn't I take the opportunity to, hey, if they breaking in Target, there's a lot of stuff in Target I can use right now. So putting it in perspective within these respective situations, I think it also like it draws a bigger picture that, like you guys are saying, there's a couple different things that are happening at the same time, and also some things that are not just affecting our community as the Black community, but just the country in general, and a level of people who do feel this. And unfortunately, the same people that we would think of, or these same people that we would look to that could potentially be Black leaders who are at this level, also don't feel not only what's happening now within our community on a base level, but also from a financial level that's been caused by what's going on with COVID. So it's a double detachment there. So it's gonna be, we're really gonna have to try to find somebody who's really gonna be for us, who's really gonna try to push us forward. And yeah, it's gonna be a multi-front um, attack, so to speak, to be able to change how the system is moving.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And I think before I move on to our last point, because we got to wrap up, is that not all looting or rioting are created equal. Right. So you have to look at the context of the people in that situation, because not all context is the same. So the Black experience in Atlanta is not the same as the Black experience in LA or DC. Right. So I think that's the thing that's being lost in this mass media coverage of it. And I think we're honestly, if I'm real with myself, given the age that we live in, we're going to have trouble finding one central leader. Just because in the age of technology we live in and how much scrutiny people are put under when they're thrust into the leadership position, nobody's going to be willing to do that, which is why you see the Obamas. He's like, look, in my head, I made it through this presidency. I ain't got no scandals or nothing like that. I ain't about to risk this again, man. Look, I'm going to tell y'all what to do. I ain't going to be the one to lead it. What I honestly think would be more effective for us and what I think needs to happen, especially right now, given this pandemic, which actually created a perfect storm, we have the nation's attention, is I agree. We get the representatives, right? Or quote unquote representatives. Those are the people that need to come together. You feel me? So like your killer mics, your people who are representing those hot pockets, they need to come together and they need to do something, just like Tristan says, where we can be like, okay, what do we want to do? And they're in charge of organizing in their areas, states, or cities. That's the only way we're going to do it, in my opinion, because once you thrust somebody out there, because think about it, Malcolm to his death, Martin to his death. You get what I'm saying? And now in the social media age, ain't nobody clean. I'm just be real. Ain't nobody squeaky clean. You feel me? So, all right, Tristan. I know you're not. So, what I'm saying is, I do believe it's gonna take those influentials. Like, unfortunately, we lost Nipsey, but Nipsey would have been the one in Cali. You get what I'm saying? Those representatives, just like Congress has representatives, we need to have representatives that come together, that are on the line and be like, look, listen, Jay-Z need to be hitting Killer Mike. You get what I'm saying? Like, David Banner needs to get on the line. You get what I'm saying? Like, all these people need to start coming together and figuring out, okay, this is what we need to do. It don't need to be something that's coming off the whim, which I hate to say, like this Blackout Tuesday, because Tristan, that's what it feels like. It's off the whim. It's a reaction. We're not organized. You get what I'm saying? We don't have an actionable demand. We don't have actionable plans. So I feel like that's what it's going to take in order for us to really be on the same page and make more significant progress. Because I'm going to be real. I believe what's different about this, because Sandra Bland happened, Tamir Rice happened, Trayvon Martin happened. You get what I'm saying? Philando Castile happened. I believe why this is more significant is because it's COVID. It's because we're sitting here and we're able to digest. We can't just go outside and forget about it and be distracted by our jobs, our kids, or anything like that. We're forced to sit at home and see it and digest it more than we would have. That's my belief system. But when the world opens back up, what's going to change? You feel me? So that's what I believe. But I know we got to let you guys go. But for our last point, try to make it brief. What do you guys take about all of these celebrities coming to speak out? And what do you think about that? And also, what do you think about the ones that are silent?
I'll
I'm
go
gonna jump
first.
in. Oh, go
Hold on,
ahead.
let,
Go
let
ahead.
Evan go. Let Evan go first. Evan, go ahead.
Evan, go
I
ahead.
hit the mute
Yeah.
first, Christian. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
I saw the line, man.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I had one that was succinct that I shared with my wife the other day. I said that if you use your voice to make money, or you use your image to make money, and you're not using your voice or your image right now, I don't want to hear anything else from you, period. Once the world opens back up. Like, you have the platform right now. If you're not using it now, there's no reason you using it should ever be validated to me again. That's my thought on it. I think that, there's pros and cons to us living in this celebrity idolship environment world that we live in. But one of the pros to it is that there's a lot of folks who normally may not have voices that we do give a lot of respect to, whether it's the artists or the athletes or whatnot. And the information is out there. I'm gonna make this brief. I've been on a group chat with like 4 friends for the last couple weeks since this has been going on. And every now and then while we're talking about this, somebody will throw out something that's been published on how to reform public safety, something that's been published on how to perform sustained peaceful protests, how to reform tax code, things of that nature. The answers aren't out there waiting to be defined in a lot of cases. It's the leadership and taking the reins to guide it in the right direction. So I think there's people out there that have the platform to usher this in the right direction. It's not 100% on them, but it is partly on them.
All right. So, as someone who lives in LA, who's surrounded by celebs and actors and stuff like that over here, and musicians, basketball players, athletes in general, um, I feel like they have a due diligence to speak up because they have the biggest platform than most of us here. Just in general population, like we don't have as many followers as let's say The Rock, right? Who has millions of followers, who will reach out more people than I would ever. But I also don't. Sometimes these posts don't feel they don't feel sincere at all, right? It just feels like lip service. It feels like, well, I'll just do this to save my brand because um, people are talking about it, and if I don't say anything, then they're gonna be wondering why I'm not saying anything. So I find I'm very cynical when it comes to that because I don't know what your true intentions are, but then I don't know you as a person, so I can't really say anything. Um, but I also play devil's advocate when I'm tagged in a chain, right? Well, I don't fucking do those chains because like I shouldn't have to validate you for what I believe in. Like people who know me know what I believe in. So should a celebrity post anything to anything with George Floyd or anything like that? I don't know, but I know most of them. I know actors and celebrities and influencers who repeatedly um, voice their opinion or voice the unheard, right? Those are the people that I know are sincere. The people that don't usually do that and they're just doing this once, they only do one post and stuff like that, they're insincere. And there's a couple instances here in LA where if quote unquote influencers took pictures holding a drill where they're boarding up a store for a photo op. Like, really, really. So I don't know the right answer, man, because I just don't. I always circle around with it. I always circle even with the black post last night. I feel the same way as Tristan. I didn't know if I should do it because I don't want to be a follower. I
Right.
don't want to be a follower. I'm not that person. I don't like to. I don't want to do something to validate to other people that I'm doing it.
All right.
But I
I feel you.
also felt like I should be unified with everyone else because I am.
Gotcha.
So I don't know, man.
It's tough.
It's, it's tough.
So, go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between Evan and Christian, leaning more towards Evan. I think yes, it's a tricky thing to see where somebody or to know somebody's true intentions when you don't actually know them. And yes, it can feel like a follower in terms of doing certain things. However, I think this goes back to the larger picture. If we know that for the larger picture, what this means and what I can do, not just from that perspective, for instance, just Blackout Tuesday, I had a conversation with my friend who actually, had understood the true intentions of what today was supposed to be about. And I said, I feel that, and I'm glad that we're disseminating that information as quickly as possible to everybody so they understand their intentions. It's not just staying silent today. We want to be able to specifically speak on what's happening and give people actionable ways to be able to work towards this cause. I think that's the important piece is, okay, yes, we're doing this, but then what am I like really doing personally to take this to the next level? Because I think that is the added push that always speaks to the next steps. We're all doing this because we all want to bring awareness. We know this is going to bring awareness, especially if we all do it at the same time. But then, what then can I do personally to take it to the next level? I'll give an example. Yeah, at the end of the day, if Hans is wrong, y'all will never know he's wrong. You know what I mean? Hans and I will sit there. When it's all said and done, I'm like, hey, he was wrong. You know he was wrong. But y'all will never know he's wrong. And I think we need to continue to adopt that same ideal, so long that it remains positive, that ideal, because the solidarity is the important piece. And to what Evan is saying specifically is, look, at the end of the day, if you've done anything to appeal to your culture, specifically speaking about Black celebrities, if you've done anything to appeal to your culture that has brought you to where you are, and you do not speak on Black topics, on Black issues, you do not deserve my support from that moment forward, period. There's no question about it, because we helped bring you here. So riding our backs, and now you got here, you got to the level that you wanted to reach. Now you want to turn your back on it? No support for me in that sense. But yes, insincere or not, I think that's between you and God. But I can respect anybody who's willing to be able to put it out and say, hey, I sympathize with you. I feel for you. But I do think that every person, especially Black person of influence, should be out there doing whatever they can to be able to help their community, and it should be visible, because what brought you to the celebrity status, what brought you to the level of whatever brought you to this level of success was visible. So again, your support, your show of solidarity should also be visible as well.
Tristan?
Yes.
Your thoughts about, celebrities and people speaking out, the silence, if any. What are your thoughts?
I think it's multifaceted. We had a conversation a while back in regards to Justin Timberlake and whatever. Like, even today, I'm watching TV and I'm scrolling through Fox and I see Fox make this post and it's like Black Lives Matter. I just rolled my eyes so hard, like, fuck out of here. Like, so you question people's genuineness, but I know one thing: behavior patterns don't lie. History don't lie. So yeah, you can throw one post and that's all fine and dandy. But if your long-term, behavior prior to this wasn't exemplary of what you're posting now, then I don't give a damn about your post. You keep that shit. Because I also think that's counterproductive as well. Like, that kind of takes away. And I was watching a show last night where it was this one, white chick, and she was sitting here saying that she posted something, and then all of a sudden she's like, I'm getting all these, threats and hate comments because people didn't know that, oh my God, that Black Lives Matter. I'm like, honey, boo, listen. When I walk through my threshold to go outside, I get threats on a consistent basis, and they're not direct, but at the end of the day, my life and the lifestyle I live is more in jeopardy than what the fuck you're seeing down your timeline right now. So I really don't want to hear it. So again, I feel like some people can sit out. I'm so cool with you sitting out, sitting your ass at home, because you mean us no good. But you already know how I feel about that, because we had a whole situation about a white girl on Facebook. So I'm like, Karen, miss me.
No, I feel you. And honestly, I was 50-50 in regards to like people staying silent and kind of like Christian, right? And, are you staying silent because you don't want to be sheep, or, you're doing anything like that? And honestly, I've reconciled it. Honestly, just hearing from you guys, I've really kind of reconciled it. So for people who are working, I'm okay with you being silent because you're working. I.e., y'all know I'm a J. Cole stan, right? My man is actually always one of the first artists who's out there on the streets, right? When Mike Brown happened, when we were out here with Trayvon Martin, he was actually out there talking to the people. No photo ops, not posting. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool with that. Nick Cannon, you posting on the sign with your nice filter and everything, miss me with that. You get what I mean? Just miss me with that because I don't know what you're doing. But for me, because
sorry, Hans, to cut you off. I feel what you're saying, but what it is they're still visible. I think that's the key part of it.
right, but
Not necessarily that they're posting or necessarily saying anything, but because they're there, the visibility speaks for itself. J. Cole's never been a social media guy, but somebody who's out there is going to post J. Cole on their social media.
right.
So it's always going to, if you working, it's going to be visible.
But that's what I'm saying. But you're working. That's why I'm okay with him being silent on social media. You get what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't use his voice. He lets his actions speak. And I'm okay with him being silent because he's working. You feel me? I'm cool. Because, you know, I get the reason I initially am 50-50 is because I think of that Martin Luther King quote, right? And he says, at a certain time, silence turns into betrayal. That's, you get what I'm saying? And I'm just like, yo, that's real. That's real. You get what I'm saying? Where's the line between silence and complicity? Like, you know, at a certain time, silence turns into betrayal. So where I'm at with it is, yo, if you out here working, you ain't got to speak, fam. Like you said, Lou, your work speaks for itself. You feel me? But miss me with all the posts and you ain't never been outside your house. You get what I'm saying? Miss me with your solidarity from your house. Miss me with all of that. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, my boy Ev right here, he don't post nothing. He's not really a big social media dude. But he's out there with his wife walking. You get what I mean? Walking. So like I'm okay with that. But like I'm real like I don't need you to post, Tom Brady. Like I don't need that, Tom. I need you out here, Tom. That's what I need. And I think it's this perfect storm. Like I said, it's great because we're out here. We have the time. We're more accessible to social media, and we're gonna do that. And I think it's great that all these white brothers and sisters want to jump onto that. But I want to see where you at when it's all open. Where you at when you have to go clock into your 9 to 5 when you have to work? Where you at when everything's open? We ain't got to worry about COVID. Where you at with the next person? And Dominique Foxworth, Evan, I know you know who he is. I know you guys know who he is. Tristan, he's a former NFL player. I know you did it. He said this perfectly. He was on a show called Highly Questionable, which is also on ESPN, Tristan, with Bomani Jones. He's an analyst, a sports analyst, Tristan. No, I'm losing her. So, but Dominique said this perfectly. The next time another black person comes to you and said, hey, this person was killed, but I don't have footage, are you going to be as upset? Are you going to believe him? Are you going to post about it? Are you going to do something about it? And to me, that's the true measuring stick. The next time this happens and it's not videotaped, right? Or it's just printed on, printed media. Are you going to be as outraged? Are we going to get the hashtags? You get what I'm saying? That to me is the true test of where we're at and how we're moving. And that's how I feel about it. Guys, I got to cut you off. I know this has been riveting. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Gentlemen, you guys are my boys. I appreciate y'all joining me. If you guys want to plug anything, any social media, anything that you want us or our listeners to kind of go towards, to look out for, to listen to, please let me know. I know my boy Lou guys, F Society. Lou, tell them where they can learn more about F Society, please, and what F Society is about.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't have the hoodie today that would be a little bit more fitting towards the topic. However, yeah, I when we first designed this, man, it came out of some frustration, but it really stands for Forgotten Society. It's really just it's always been a hub to those who think differently, who feel like society kind of forgot about us. We're not really conforming to what it is that society says is what measures our success or what deems us to be successful. So it's just for free thinkers, really thinking out the box. And so that's where we came up with the tag of society. So we have our website, Forgotten Society, ENT.com. You can check us on Forgotten Society ENT on all of the social platforms. So
Definitely. You guys, if you want to plug your social media, please let us know. Do it, plug it. Let us know where to reach out to you guys. Once again, guys, I thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. To our listeners, you know the drill. You can definitely reach out to us through our social media, Hans and Tristan podcast on IG. Like, subscribe, share. You can listen to the podcast on all platforms where podcasts are heard, so you have no excuse excuse. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to the page, Hans and Tristan Podcast. Again, it's all consistent. So please check us out. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us. We appreciate you. Say it again.
Thank you, guys. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking
Okay,
to
my bad. Dang, my bad. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.